God used them to allow the people to go back home and rebuild their temple, rebuild the city, rebuild the walls, and have their nation back again. So with that, I'll tell you what we'll do. I know we're just about 4 or 5 minutes, but I hate to get into this other with the Greeks, and then just have to break it off real quick.
How about a question?
Let's do that. That's a great idea. I'm glad I thought of that. Thank you so much. Let me tell you where we're going then, and then we'll entertain questions for a few minutes. We'll do the Greeks when we come back at 7. And we'll get into the Ptolemies and the Seleucids, and that'll take us through to 9 o'clock. So we've got a lot ahead of us, but it's going to be really, really interesting. Then tomorrow morning we'll do the Syrian wars and the Samaritans and the Herods. So that's where we're headed. So when we come back, the Greeks. So questions or comments? I know it's been a long day. Thanks for staying with us. And I'll give you all the information I've got. It'll help you in the long run. But questions, comments?
Okay, you said that Esther was in the intertestamental
period.
Okay, what are you counting in the intertestamental period?
Yeah.
If you start with 500 down to 0, you've got 500 years, not 400 years.
Yeah. Esther, I put her in there because the Persian period spans more than, remember the Persians go back to the defeat of, they go back to 536. Well, we're not in the intertestamental period then, but we want to start there because the Persian period goes all the way down for 200 years. So if we try to cut it in half, we lose some things. So that's why we put her in there. So we got a 200-year period, which goes into the intertestamental period, but all of it's not there. So that's the reason why. What was that? Hurts in my stomach growling. All right. All right. Questions, comments? Yes.
This is just kind of a general question. You mentioned philosophy 2 or 3 different times associated with different things, and I'm trying to get a feel for how we feel about philosophy. In Colossians it says, "See to it that no one takes you captive through philosophy." And I've been with people who say, no philosophy, forget philosophy. Yeah. I've been fascinated by philosophy. You can't do anything without philosophy. Yeah. So it's bad philosophy.
Yeah. Look. Remember the episode in the Twilight Zone where everybody under 45 went, what? Before the earth cooled, there was a TV show called Twilight Zone. That's before Ezra. And in one episode of the Twilight Zone, we're introduced to a cylinder. Just a cylinder. And you can look down in it, and there's a cylinder. And at the bottom of the cylinder are these people, characters. And there's a clown and a cowboy and a ballerina and whatever. And they're trying to figure out, who are we? Where'd we come from? What are the rules where we're at? Can we get out of here? Is there any purpose? Turns out that they're toys. Remember that? Now, that's man's dilemma. Man without God looks around and asks those same questions. Who am I? How did I get here? Is there meaning to life? Do I have a purpose? What's beyond this life? That's philosophy. And I love to read it. But philosophy is seductive because it starts with no God and it's just here. Now some philosophers reason their way and say there must be a first cause or whatever. I get that. So notice the adjective, Paul, vain philosophy, empty philosophy. Now that's an interesting word. And then he goes on to talk about the rudiments of the world. And the rudiments in the Greek are things in a row, like A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. So people who are philosophers and think they're really, really wise because how do you know you're really here? Well, how about if you get smacked in the face? Could you figure it out then? So they think this is so intellectual, but it's really just rudiments. It's things in a row. It's ABCs 1, 2, 3. The real profound intelligent stuff is found as we start with God. So to read philosophy, no. But is it for everybody? No, it's not for everybody. I have a friend who goes into bars and witnesses. He goes into places I wouldn't go in without a tank. And that's his ministry, but it's not my ministry. So here are people who can get into philosophy really deep and wade through all of that and maintain their faith and come out and tell the rest of us about it. That's fine, but it's not for everybody because it's very, very deceptive. It's like the fish hook. And it seems like it's wise. No, it's just rudiments. It's 1, 2, 3, ABC. And it asks questions that, oh, I guess there's nothing to it. No. We start with God and the scriptures and then go from there. So that, to read philosophy, no. And really, honestly, a gentleman your age, gentleman my age, with a long background in Christianity, it's not going to sway me. So I can read Plato. I can read Musonius Rufus, who was a Stoic philosopher. I can read all kinds of stuff and say, yeah, he was close. He's working on it. Yeah. Or I didn't thought of that. That's a good thought. But a lot of it's just,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. Guys, remember that word rudiments in your King James Version. It depends on the rudiments of this world. Colossians, what was it, 2?
2:8.
Yeah, and then the thing, and those two things will really help you. It's the ABCs, it's the 1, 2, 3s. It's not profound to be able to ask all kinds of questions. But we start with there's a God and He's revealed Himself. An awful lot of things begin to fall into place. All right, see you at 7 o'clock.